Alright, this will be the first time I've gone live from the station to my YouTube channel, so I just want to make sure we are live. Yeah, looks like the stream is going. Alright, so the main thing that we're going to be talking about throughout the day today is the red flag warning that's in place over the Central Coast. The main reason that we have this is there's some moisture coming in from what was Hurricane Hova, now it's Tropical Storm Hova, and that's leading to some thunderstorms across the Central Coast. And I don't know if the microphone will be able to pick it up, but over the last 30 minutes, we've actually had some pretty loud thunder over the station. I'm in Salinas right now at KSBW. And then with these thunderstorms, we have also seen some lightning throughout this morning. And I want to actually just click into this so we can break down the exact timing of some of the systems that we've had. So it looks like at about 1 this morning, most of the moisture was south of the Central Coast. And then we started to see more of the thunderstorm potential move in around 5 a.m. And then it was really during the show that I just did, it was 7 to 9 a.m., that we started to see more lightning popping up, actually started to hear some thunder. I actually had one coworker text me and said the thunder was so loud it felt like their house was shaking. But now let's go to where we currently are. So this is around 9:35. The lightning that it shows on the map is just where there was some lightning previously. You can see we did have a good amount around Gonzales and Soledad. We have a live shot there. And you could actually see the thunderstorms coming through earlier this morning. Now it looks like it's more around kind of just west of Prunedale and then about to go into the Hollister area. And then we'll see if there's some more moisture down to the south of us that's going to be moving in. Although, I mean, hopefully this is just the one band that we're going to see throughout the day today, and things actually just start to calm down as we get later in the day. Right now, that's how it looks like it's going to be. Highest thunderstorm chances in the morning, calming down as we get into the afternoon, and that's actually exactly how you would want it to be. If you have to have some thunderstorms out there, is you wouldn't want them in the afternoon when it's the peak of your temperatures. Today it's going to be pretty warm out there, some temperatures in the mid 80s to low 90s, low relative humidity. Even though we picked up a lot of rain this last winter, we're now into September, so this is the part of the year where the fuels start to get a bit dry, especially up in the upper elevations. That's above the marine layer, so we don't have as much of the beneficial impacts of the fog that we sometimes see across the Central Coast in the morning. And then that's also important because usually lightning strikes in the upper elevations. And it's also where there's very steep, rugged terrain, so it's hard to get vehicles up there. So then if a fire starts, it's able to spread. Good news, though, it doesn't look like, at least I've been looking at all the sources I can find, and it doesn't look like any fires have started just yet. And it seems like the thunderstorm activity is starting to go down right now. We'll see if there's another wave that comes in. But right now it looks like most of the activity is behind us. But just looking at Salinas Fremont Peak, that actually paints the picture I was just talking about. Not too long ago, I was hearing very loud thunder directly above the station, and now you can kind of start to see those gray clouds moving off, and the systems are usually moving towards the northeast. But now let's actually talk about why this is happening in the first place. It's all because of what was Hurricane Hova. Overnight, it decreased in intensity. Now it's around 65 miles per hour, so it's now Tropical Storm Hova. And the storm itself isn't actually a concern. It's way off in the Pacific. It's actually moving farther away from us. It's not taking one of those paths like Hillary did where it goes into Southern California. So you might be wondering, well, if it's so far away, why is it impacting us? And it's impacting us in two ways. One, the storm created a lot of swell, so we have a beach hazard statement in place due to some large surf, greater chances for rip currents. I'll get into that a little bit later, but now first I want to focus on the fire potential and the red flag warning, just because I think that is potentially of higher impact, although rip currents can be dangerous. That actually leads to I would imagine that leads to more deaths per year along the Central Coast than wildfires do. Don't quote me on that. I should actually check that statistic there. But I just want to click back here so you can see this again. There is Tropical Storm Hova spinning around, and look as that moisture starts moving up into Southern California. that's where the thunderstorm potential is coming from. And it's not only for us. It looks like that moisture is spreading into other parts of California as well. It just looks like up in the Sierra, they have a bit more of the rainfall associated with it, where you see the green. And that's why they don't have a red flag warning in place, because they're having more of the wet thunderstorms, where it brings a little moisture to your fuel, so then if a lightning strike happens, it's less likely that that turns into a fire. On the Central Coast, we've had a mix between wet and dry thunderstorms. I actually just walked outside. Parking lot looks pretty wet out there. Not pretty wet. It has some moisture on it, as in we picked up a maybe 0.01 inches of rain. That goes along with some of the other stations I was seeing around Monterey County and San Benito County. A few of the stations picking up 0.01, but on the live shot earlier, it did look like you could actually see the thunderstorm coming through. You could see some of the rain falling, but then you could also see it was evaporating before it got to the ground. That's basically your definition of a dry thunderstorm. And then if you have thunder, that happens right there. Well, the scientific name for that is virga, where you have rain evaporating before it gets to the ground. So that's why we have the red flag warning in place. Dry thunderstorms over dry fuels. And then as of right now, the red flag warning is set to expire at noon today. That's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, because if the thunderstorm chances continue into this afternoon, even though it does look like they're going to diminish as of right now, then it'll be combined with very warm temperatures and dry air. So then in that case, they would extend it. As of right now, it doesn't look like they're going to. Although, yeah, we'll stay tuned there, because yeah, it is going to be pretty warm out there this afternoon. Nothing too excessive. We don't have any heat advisories in place, no excessive heat warnings, but we do have some low 90s in Monterey and San Benito County, our mountains and valleys. And then it looks like the thunderstorm chances are gone tomorrow, so the red flag warning will definitely have expired by then. I think that's safe to say. But the heat will be sticking around, so maybe at that point we just get to enjoy some of the warm air and sunshine, maybe head out to the beach. And you maybe do want to head out to the beach today, just with some of the low 90s inland. And then the coast, we have very dense fog out there right now, low visibility, so driving conditions are a bit tricky at the moment. But once that fog burns off, it should just be a beautiful day out there. Now, if you do head to the beach, though, I should mention there's a beach hazard statement in place. And this actually ties back to Tropical Storm Hova. Created a lot of swell, and that swell has found its way into California. So with that, there's an increased chance of rip currents, sneaker waves, some breaking waves, actually 4 to 8 feet. And that's mostly going to be in your beaches that face south. So places like Santa Cruz will be able to pick up the swell, because if you think about it, the storm's to the south of us. So as the waves move up, it bumps into those south-facing beaches the most. And that's where you would have the largest waves. And one other thing I should say about southerly swell is there's usually a very long period, or a long time between sets, or a long time between big waves. So why that's important is if you head out to the beach today to enjoy some of the nice weather we should have, especially in the Santa Cruz area, that's where we'll have the most sun, but that's also where we'll have the largest waves. The long time between sets means that it could look completely flat for 10 minutes. It almost looks like a lake out there. And then all of a sudden that swell starts to pop up and you have a big wave. And this is actually part of the reason they're running the World Surf League Championships down in Trestles today. So that's also a fun thing to watch throughout the day today. And it's because of this swell from Tropical Storm Hova. Now, I should also mention the risk of rip currents. If you do get trapped in a rip current, the last thing that you want to do is swim directly against the rip current and back to the beach. That's almost just like running on a treadmill. You waste all your energy and you don't really go anywhere. So the first thing you want to do is maybe call out to a lifeguard. I'm sure they'll have full staffing out there today, just with the warm temperatures and the southerly swell coming in. After you try to wave to a lifeguard, if that doesn't work, then what you want to do is swim parallel to the beach. So that's a little counterintuitive. Get out of the rip and then swim back in. So you don't want to swim straight to the beach. You want to swim out of the rip first and then swim into the beach. So I think that's a good thing to know, because those can be fairly dangerous. And especially if you have like a sneaker wave that could pull somebody into the water and then into a rip as well. So good thing to know. But other than all of that, those are, I think the best way to summarize this forecast is it's one of those forecasts where there's very low probability of a high impact event. So right now I'd say it's low probability that the lightning leads to a fire. Just because there's lightning doesn't mean there's going to be a fire starting. In fact, I believe about 80 to even 90% of lightning strikes don't result in a fire. And we have the good timing of it being earlier in the morning before things really warm up and dry out. But it's one of those things where it's low probability a fire happens, but then that would be a high impact event if it does. Same thing with sneaker waves or rip currents. You might head to the beach and maybe it's just 2 to 3 feet the entire time and it's actually just a beautiful day. But in the event of a sneaker wave or a rip current, that could be life threatening. So yeah, just have to mention it. Although personally, I think it overall is going to be a nice day today. Hopefully I don't regret those words, but I'm going to be heading to the beach in about an hour now. And then there's also some other events going on around the Central Coast. Greek Festival, Capitola Art and Wine Festival. I think it's called some kind of raceway event out there. I'm forgetting the name of it at the moment. Something about Saguna. But forecast highs today. This is also why I think people will want to be going to the beach, but it's also part of the reason we have an increase in fire danger. And why I'm questioning whether that red flag warning will be extended. Boulder Creek 89, Bedloman 88. Good thing the thunderstorm potential doesn't look to be as large up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Morgan Hill 90, Gilroy 91. Cooler as you get closer to the beach though. Some coastal cities actually just in the 60s today. This is the screen where we have more of the fire threat today. We have 91 for King City, 90 for Greenfield, 88 for Soledad. And then up in the higher terrain, which you could see over to the left and the right here, that's where we have already seen some of the lightning strikes today. And then looking at the Monterey Peninsula, pretty dense fog out there at the moment. The dense fog advisory expired, even though it still looks like very low visibility. We'll see how early that burns off, but right now, looks like it'll be pretty cool for places like Carmel, Pebble Beach, Monterey at 73 degrees though. And then here's the 8-day forecast. Fairly constant over the next 3 days in terms of that same pattern where it's clouds in the morning, clearing in the afternoon, above average temperatures potentially through Monday, and then it looks like we drop back down to more average temperatures on Tuesday and Wednesday. I would say the main concern for the entire 8-day forecast will be the next 2 hours to see if we have another wave of those thunderstorms coming through. And then that could potentially bring more concern than the ones we had this morning, because that will be when some of our temperatures had started to warm up. But that's something we'll just have to keep an eye on. I'll do another update and forecast if we do have any fires start throughout the day today, and then I'll actually forecast for the fires themselves. But hopefully nothing happens and we just get to enjoy what I think should be one of the best beach days of the year. If you go in the water though, obviously stay safe. So hopefully you learned something throughout the course of this video, and thanks for watching.